Okay. Good evening, everyone. Okay. Start? Okay. Good evening, everyone. So this may be a bit of an antidote to influencer marketing being this new toy, which in the arsenal of every marketeer. This is really about saying that influencer marketing has to be the heart of the entire brand, and not when you have a product launch or not when you do something specific. If you aren't committed to it, eventually your brand will fall short. So how do you go about it? Very, very quickly. This is, you may have seen this from Simon Sinek, it's the golden circle. So fundamentally, a brand's got to find an idea, not at the what, as in what you do, or not even as how you do it, but fundamentally, why? Why are you in, what's your mission? What's your brand mission? What's your global purpose, right? If you can find an idea there in the why, right, you automatically are into the whole influence game. Next chart, please. Next, just sponge, yeah. So I think this is something quite profound, and if some of you went to Melt, you may have heard this. The big mistake, I think a lot of brands, especially the marketing sort of digital manager will say, I want to be on social, I want to be on social, get me on social, and that's a huge mistake, right? It's not about being on social. Next slide. Yeah, it's about you got to be social. So it's not about being on social. The big mistake I think a lot of brands make is saying, I want to be on social, how much money to put on social. You as a brand have to be on social. But you can really truly only be a social brand if you've understood the why of your brand. Yeah, why do you exist? What's the noble purpose? So I want to give you 3 examples very, very quickly as to how the entire brand, when it finds the why, how it's so liberating. Next slide. So if you read any book on social influence, fundamentally what it will tell you is, if as a brand you are generous, right? If you have a mission which is more than just profit, if you are generous as a brand, people reciprocate. So it's as simple as that. If you give out generosity in your idea and across everything a brand does, people will reciprocate. So you don't have to go to any blogger, you don't have to go to these guys who are paid off, because eventually next year or the year after, people will suspect all these influencers because we are paying them, right? So you need generosity to get reciprocity. Otherwise, next year we'll be over here saying influencer marketing is dead. Guess why? Because we screwed it up. We corrupted that entire clear crystal pool. Yeah. So this is an example of, at the heart of a brand, Aviva basically stands for Education Policies for Children. So they ran this program for 4 years, which was all about creating this huge wall where everyone, anyone, not only an Aviva policy owner, anyone could come and donate a book. That book would then eventually be given to an underprivileged child. So this was done, and one of the, Ram, who's now at Visa, but CEO, he said one thing very clearly: I want no one selling insurance policies within 10 miles of this event. I don't want any commerce to like sully or the image of this pure act. Interestingly, when we interviewed people, we didn't bother about the influences you can buy, but we had a person in Calcutta who said that he had never lent a book to anyone, but when he heard about this, he came and donated his entire library, and he actually broke down. And he then said, I'm going to tell this story to everyone. We had a grandmother in Delhi who came, this was in Delhi, and she came from Noida in a rickshaw to teach her grandchild that he was privileged, but others aren't. And so a lot of influencers were people who came out spontaneously because they found that here was a brand that was generous. Go to the next one. I don't know whether you've seen this, but for a long time, Ariel was sort of probably breaking its head versus surf. But when they came up with an idea which is basically about share the load, it's amazing how so many women have come out spontaneously without any payment to really support this act. They're thanking Ariel for being very generous with this idea. And what Ariel have now done is launched a new label, and a lot of brands have agreed to do this, including brands at Shoppers Stop, where you have included on the right-hand side, basically saying that even men can wash, right? So it's a handle which every spouse has at home to get the guy to wash, right? So there's the generosity and they're reciprocating. So fundamentally, I think that's the whole thing. generous idea, the heart of your entire brand, not because you're being selfish and you have a product to launch. Yeah? Today's people are very smart. They'll smell this. Last example, which is something which is you all may have seen. Next, yeah. I don't know how many of you have seen this movie called Wild. Basically, it's a true story, and this woman's on this long journey along the Pacific Trail. And it's her form of repentance for what she's done in her life. And she finds the shoes tight. And so one of her fellow sort of hikers says, call up REI, and they will actually mail you a free pair of shoes at the next outpost. And she can't believe it. She says, would they actually do that? She calls them up, and she actually says on the phone, if you send this to me, I'll be your biggest fan for life. At that time, there was no bestseller, there was no movie, right? She was just a regular hiker. They sent her this shoe, right? Not because they had some influencer marketing program. That's because as a brand, they had a why. And they basically believe everyone in America should go outdoors and have a great time. They delivered these shoes free of charge, little realizing that they'd be on a national book cover and they'd be on a huge movie with Reese Witherspoon, right? So I think fundamentally there's a generosity at the heart of REI, and that was paid back. This is a bit unusual, but the point is that there are outliers there. Yeah? So the less we sort of try and do this influencer marketing with the usual suspects, I think the better the brand will be. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.